Hey there, I'm back to talk about Stoicism, and I just put out my timer there because I want to make sure I don't go on about this stuff for too long. So if you've watched the first video in this series, which was very well received, about Stoicism, about Epictetus, you may remember that we left off on preferred indifference and dispreferred indifference. Things that are outside of your control but that you may still try to pursue or try to avoid as long as your pursuing of those things does not get in the way of virtue. And I wanted to kind of restate that because I'm going to read you the second part of Epictetus's Enchiridion, and we kind of revisit this topic. This is a much shorter passage, so here we go. Keep in mind that desire presumes you're getting what you want, and that aversion presumes you avoiding what you don't want, and that not getting what we want makes us unfortunate, while encountering what we don't want makes us miserable. So, if among the things contrary to nature you restrict aversion to those that are up to you, you will experience none of the things you don't want. But if you are averse to sickness or death or poverty, you will be miserable. So move aversion away from everything that is not up to us and transfer it to the things contrary to nature that are up to us. As for desire, give it up completely for the time being. Otherwise, if you desire any of the things that are not up to us, you are bound to be unfortunate, while none of the things up to us, which it would be fine to desire, will be available to you. Confine yourself to motivation and disinclination, and apply these attitudes lightly, with reservation and without straining. Slightly tough one. This one is a little harder to understand because Epictetus had a thing for expressing his concepts very concisely in only a couple of lines. Now I really like that because that means you don't have endless waxing of philosophy and it goes on and on. He is very much to the point. So let me tell you what I get out of this and how I interpret this. So what he says is, obviously, we desire those things we want and we are averse to things that we don't want. Yeah, of course. Everybody wants riches and nobody wants to fall ill. Right? But then he says, so then if we don't get what we want, let's make this concrete, say a good job. Everybody wants to have a good job, right? If we don't get what we want, that makes us unfortunate. We will feel unfortunate. And I think that is very true from a psychological sense, because I think we have all experienced that. We know that if you don't get something that you want, then you don't feel very happy. Right? But then he also continues and he says, now, if you do get something that you don't want, then that makes us miserable, which I think may be even worse than unfortunate, because now you don't feel, well, you know, that was unfortunate, I didn't get the job. Now you actually feel miserable, which may be even worse, right? So what's the solution? Well, Epictetus is relatively clear. As I said at the start of this video, the Stoics would say there are preferred and dispreferred indifference. Things that are outside of your control, that you may seek to pursue in the case of a preferred indifferent, or that you would rather avoid, like a dispreferred indifferent, right? And what Epictetus is telling us here is, if you try to avoid things that are not up to you, you'll run into trouble. Mentally, you're going to have an issue. Why? Well, imagine that you are trying to avoid developing a serious illness. Nobody wants to have a serious illness. Or let's use another sad example. You lose a loved one, a life partner, or a child, or a parent, or a good friend. Nobody wants that. But unfortunately, we can't avoid it because it is not up to us. We cannot decide to let our partner live and to let someone else die. We do not have that power. So if we seek to avoid those things that are not up to us to avoid, then we are again battling indifference. In this case, a dispreferred indifference. That is what we are trying to avoid. But that won't work. Because by definition, an indifferent is something that is not up to us. And the result, Epictetus says, is misery. If you avoid or try to avoid those things that are outside of your control, the outcome will be misery. You will be miserable. And then he says, if you try to really get those things, desire those things that you do want, like riches or a wonderful life partner or a really good job, and you don't get that, then you will be unfortunate. You will also not feel well. And I think what he is getting at is similar to what I discussed in this first video, right? Again, what you are doing is putting, and I'm just going to use a metaphor here, all your happiness eggs in the same basket. As long as I am not ill, as long as my partner is alive, as long as I have friends, as long as I have a great job, I will be happy. But none of those things are up to you. So if you make your happiness contingent, dependent upon X and Y and Z, or Z if you prefer, it's not going to work. You will either end up unfortunate by not getting what you want, or worse, miserable by getting what you don't want. Problematic. What can you try to avoid? He's clear too. You can try to avoid those things that are within your control. It is relatively easy for me to eat 1/2 kilogram of chocolate in a setting. I know this because I've come pretty close. I also know that this is not healthy for me. So I quit doing that. Now I am avoiding something that I like, but that is unhealthy to me. I am avoiding something that is within my control because I put the chocolate in my mouth or I don't. I'm in control. Yeah. And I avoid something that in principle I may want, but I avoid it. And I can do that because it is within my control. I once saw an interview with a martial artist, and he explained how he had asked his master, when this person was much younger, how can I become invincible? And his master gave him this fantastic answer. The sparrow does not land where the tiger roams. Kind of a stoic thing to say when you think about it. What does this mean? Well, if you're a sparrow, a tiger will always kill you, and you can't even put up a serious fight. So if you are a sparrow and you do not put yourself in the position where you have to face a tiger, you're invincible. And you can apply this to your mental health too. And that's my main concern as a psychologist. The sparrow does not land where the tiger roams. If you put yourself in a situation that you can avoid, but it may be dangerous to you, and you choose not to avoid it, the result may very well be misery. But it was within your control. You could choose not to get into that situation. This is a matter of being attentive, being understanding of your surroundings and understanding what's going on. I'm talking about a very physical thing right now, but this too can be treated very metaphorically. If you put yourself in a situation where you know psychologically you will go down the drain, you have a problem. You know where that happens to me? In the shower. I get thoughts in the shower, and I get trains of thoughts in the shower, and sometimes they take me to a place where I don't want to be. A negative train of thought. But I'm in control. Because I may not be in control over those things that happen in my life that have caused me to think negative things, but I'm always in control of my thoughts. So at that point, I can avoid something that is unpleasant to me because I'm in control. It is within my control. I can stop that train of thought, saying, no, this is taking me to a place where I don't want to go, because if I go there, I will be angry or upset or sad all day over the negative thoughts I have had. And I choose not to. Now I have avoided something within my control. And it's the same thing with pursuing things, but Epictetus is clear. He says, your desire, of course, you can try to pursue those things that you want to have, but he is clear on that too. As for desire, give it up completely for the time being. Otherwise, if you desire any of the things that are not up to us, you are bound to be unfortunate. Yeah, that's the flip side to the coin we were talking about earlier. Now, I'm not trying to avoid something that is not up to me, but I'm trying to pursue something that's not up to me. And both of those things won't lead me anywhere, because it is not up to me. So even if I say, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to do everything I can to get $1 million, it's not going to happen. A useless thing to pursue, right? And then he says, while none of the things up to us, which it would be fine to desire, will be available to you. So those things that are up to you may still be out of your reach, right? You may still not get them. So what is the best thing to do? Not even desire them. Now, this is a fountain pen channel. I have 20 pens. I used to have hundreds, but it was too much. So I sold off a whole bunch of pens, and now I have 20 or so, give or take a couple, and I'm happy. And I don't really desire more. So if you can eliminate that desire to ever want more and more and more, then there's no problem. Because you're not desiring things that you cannot get. You're also not desiring things that you can get. You're not trying to avoid things that are not within your control. And you're not even trying to avoid things that are within your control, because you simply don't desire anything. Now that is really hard. That is very, very hard. Because in our world, we continuously desire things. We continuously want things, more things, because everybody tells us to. And I'm not a conspiracy guy, but let's face it, the media, everybody needs to have this, and you need to have the car, and you need to have the... So complete elimination of desire, in itself even a Buddhist concept, so you see the nice link between Stoicism and Buddhism here, that is very hard to achieve. But you can work on it. Of each thing ask, is this something I need? I started doing that with pens. It's shiny, it's new, I kind of want it. But then I say, but do I need it? And even if this pen is on sale, or someone is willing to give me a great deal on it, that doesn't mean I need it. I may want it. But that's desire. And I am in control of my desire. And once you start to look at the world from this perspective, I think you will find that you get a lot more mental peace. Know what you should desire, what is realistic to desire, and what is better for you to avoid. But if it's outside your control, again, then it's an indifferent, and then it's pointless to even think about it because it's an indifferent. So it's a waste of your cognitive energy. It's an indifferent. You know what the indifferents are in your life. You know which things are within and outside of your control. So live and be in charge. There we have it. Second chapter of Epictetus' Enchiridion. I hope this was useful. Thank you for the overwhelmingly positive, nice, pleasant comments on the first video. That was greatly appreciated. I hope this video has given you something to think about, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.